Welcome to Austin Tech Connect, the official podcast of the Austin Technology Council. Presented to you by Netspend. Homegrown in Austin, Netspend has been a leading provider of consumer and business payment solutions for almost 25 years. From prepaid cards to mobile bank accounts to money movement services, Netspend connects people, brands, and payment products to deliver innovative financial solutions.
Welcome to Austin Tech Connect, the podcast about the future of Austin's technology community. Each week, we engage with local leaders to hear their stories of success and find out how we can all thrive in the Austin tech ecosystem. My name is Thom Singer, and I am the CEO of the Austin Technology Council, and we started this podcast 6 months ago so that we could bring everyone in the Austin community the stories of the leaders who are making things happen. And today, we're joined by a couple of the board members of Austin Women in Technology. We are joined by Emily Gupton and Heather Trumpfheller. Hey, how are you both doing today?
Hey, Tom. Good. How are you?
Doing great. How are you?
No, I'm great. I'm so glad to have you guys here. We are such big fans of Austin Women in Technology at the Austin Technology Council. And we'll talk a little bit about how we partner together and things we're both trying to do in this community. But for those of you who don't know Austin Women in Technology, it is a networking and community organization that is a nonprofit with the design to help women connect, grow, learn, and lead. And they do a fantastic job. How long have you all been around Austin Women in Technology in our community?
Yeah, AWT is our acronym. We just turned 20 in August. So it's been amazing to really grow as this pillar in the community and really see the changes, not only in the tech scene here. And nowadays, everything's a technology company. So it's been awesome to grow with the city.
Nice. Well, I want everybody to know who you guys are besides your volunteer roles with AWT. So Heather, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do for your day job.
Yeah, for my day job, I work at a tech consulting company called Tech Systems, and I support our public sector vertical. So I run the state of Texas contract vehicle work here in Austin.
Nice. And Emily, what do you do on a daily basis?
So I am Chief Operations Officer for a tech startup called Folio, and we serve the commercial real estate, architecture and design, and furniture dealer community and their clients.
Awesome. Well, so Heather, you're currently serving as the president of AWT, and Emily is the community partnerships director. So obviously, we know the president. You've got all the responsibilities of making sure that everything runs. Emily, what is the community partnerships director? What do you do?
Yeah, so this is a pretty new role for AWT, and started this about 6 months ago. And I am responsible for working with other community partner organizations like ATC and a handful of others to come together and either join efforts or give our membership base exposure to other organizations that can either provide technical upskilling or DEI-centric efforts. And so I'm responsible for working with those organizations, giving exposure to our member base, and figuring out how we can work together to be more collaborative in the community.
And when Emily
Nice.
Emily talks about member base, I just want to highlight that too, right? So we have about 600 members right now. That ranges from C-level execs to college students across all industries. And like I mentioned before, everything's a technology these days. So there's just so many skill sets that encompass within that. So a little bit about how we do that as well is we have monthly events. And how you mentioned our 4 core values of connect, grow, learn, and lead. We try to tackle one or all of those at monthly events to really introduce women and everyone to each other, to form those connections, to learn from each other. We have mentorship programs. We have a Slack channel for consistent communication. And really, like Emily was saying, we don't want it just to be, hey, here's how you learn together. We want to grow together. We want to lead together. We want to actually make those changes.
So what is the background of why AWT was founded? I always like to know a little bit about these nonprofits. What was the core where somebody said, this is a need 20 years ago? And then how is that different today?
So interestingly, I had a conversation a couple of weeks ago with someone who was part of AWT way back in the early days here in the community, and they're still here. And she said we were small. We've had to band together, and that was such a male-dominated field so much more back then, and Austin was much smaller. And so they created Austin Women in Technology as a way for that community to come together and support each other and like figure out who were the other females in the tech space in Austin, because it was sparse, and the organization stuck around and grew, and even spun off some other organizations that are still around today through the years. And we're bigger than we've ever been, and it's really exciting to be part of this community and just be so immersed in what other organizations are doing and bringing that all together.
Yeah, I definitely would say the lack of representation is why it was created. And I think a lot of these companies are doing a lot better now. I would say more and more have 50% of women and those identifying as women. But as you get higher up that ladder, it decreases. There's less women in leadership. And again, like Emily was saying, I think a lot of people, and when AWT started, it was, who are these other women in leadership at these tech companies? How can we come together? And now it's turned more into this mentorship, pay it forward, trying to get more women into the tech space and not only get them in there, but keep them in there. But yeah, it really started because of the lack of representation, which again, Austin has done such a better job, and it's been so exciting to be a part of that growth and to see the census of Austin be reflected more now in the tech companies. But yeah, really just to help empower women to climb up that ladder within the tech spaces.
So what is the status or the state of women in technology in our Austin market these days?
So I think that that it's come a long way. I think that we've still got challenges in Austin and just in the general tech community and work, right? COVID threw us all for a loop. And, people were introduced to a lot of flexibility, being able to be home with their children through the different life stages that they're going through. And how do you support that as remote work and hybrid work and all of that continues to evolve? How do you support women in their journey through their career and keep them in management? There's a couple statistics I've read recently where women are exiting management roles, exiting work altogether. And so I think for Austin, focusing on how do we provide resources or flexibility to keep women in roles and help them advance their career journey. And I think there's a lot of conversation happening about that, right? So that's kind of what I see as women in tech in Austin, and how do we keep growing that community?
And I'll chime in too. I also think the importance for me, I've read this statistic that by second grade, girls are normally told the narrative that math, science, and technology-centric fields boys are better at those. So there's just this deep-rooted narrative that while the fields are already more underrepresented for women, but it's told because of these unconscious bias and these stereotypes that are being told to girls at such a young age, which is why, when Emily moved into this community partnerships role, we wanted to get connected with the organizations like the Girl Starts, the Girl Empowerment Network, to really help show women that representation that you can be in technology as someone who identifies as a female. And I just think that's really important to not deter people from wanting to get into that field, because you might actually be really good at those subjects or really like those subjects. But at second grade, you're so impressionable that if someone tells you like, oh, girls don't do that, you don't want to do that. You want to fit in. And now we're trying to empower people to stand out, but it's harder the older you get.
Yeah, sure. And I know that the Austin school district is trying to do more of those things. My daughter's a graduate of the Ann Richards School, and they start them in sixth grade.
I love Ann Richards.
Ann Richards was a great experience for my youngest kid. She started in sixth grade, went all the way through high school, and they do a real good job of exposing those girls to the fact that you can be leaders, you can be in STEM, et cetera. Is the rest of society doing that as good of a job?
I think that there are organizations, and I'll speak specifically to Austin. I think that there are some nonprofits that we're partnering with that are really trying to immerse themselves in the elementary, middle, high school communities to support entrepreneurship, women in entrepreneurship. And I can speak to a few of those. So the Kinder Scott Welly Institute, they are, empowering women founders that are going through their UT journey to start companies, start products, and and help them through that process and launch companies right here in Austin. And it's super powerful for those women. They do pitches and all of that in front of local community female leaders, which is really exciting. And then if you go backwards in time of a person's age, we've got Code to College, Matt Stevenson, just a rock star and supporting the schools and the children. And he brings in the local tech companies to mentor kids and then teach them how to code and teach them how to build little microchip things. And it's just so incredible, that sense of community. And I've actually had Code to College interns come through my company, and they've just been incredible and so excited about technology and what they're doing and what they're learning. That I think there's a lot of different organizations, and I could name 10 of them in Austin that are really trying to break into that young age group.
Yeah, we had Matt on this podcast about 2 months ago, and his story is phenomenal, and the things that they're doing with Code to College is awesome. So everybody should go back and listen to that episode as well. So, Emily, in your role sort of with community outreach, community partnerships, that's something that when I joined the Austin Technology Council, you guys were some of the first people who I talked to. ATC was doing a series of women's breakfasts. We weren't getting that many people there. And I said, why are we reinventing the wheel, right? I looked around sort of Austin and said, we don't have to do everything that all these other nonprofits are doing. We should be partnering. We should be building one Austin. We should have all these community groups working together. And I talk all the time that Austin Women in Technology was the first group to say, yes, without question, we'll promote our stuff. You promote our stuff, we'll promote your stuff. And it really has worked out well. I stopped hosting women's breakfasts and started putting all of your events in our calendar. And when we had our big happy hour in March, Austin Women in Technology, we had almost 300 people at the event. You probably drove 10% of the people who were there were people from Austin Women in Technology. So this ability for these nonprofit groups to work together for that same cause rather than being competitive, I think is awesome. And AWT was the first ones to step up and said, yes, let's be partners. So why are you doing that with the other nonprofits and really leading in that direction?
Did you say why or how? Or
both? Why are you doing it and how are you doing it?
Yeah, I for those of you who are listening to this that have bopped around town, I am just deeply immersed in community. I want to drive collaboration between organizations because I really do believe that people want to band together to support each other, and this Austin community is insane about that. I think that we really do that at a level that a lot of other cities don't, and it's really exciting to be part of that. And so a little bit about the why is we're all putting forward these efforts to support our different networks. And how do we come together and either do co-hosted events or, share what we're doing across our membership to give exposure to say, hey, ATC over here is doing these great events, supporting the community. You guys need to know about them. AWT, if you have an ERG group or you don't, we can help your women in your workplace find community, find leadership opportunities, find mentorship. And so we should be talking about how we support the community and how we can support each other. I am just deeply passionate about that. And so, I am so jazzed about this role and grateful that Heather and the rest of the board was like, hey, this is a need. And how do we make that happen?
Ditto. I agree. I'm definitely always out and about, and mainly because I've said, I feel like God put me on this earth to be a connector, and I just love meeting people. But I think that's what I love most about Austin is Austin wants you to succeed. I mean, there's no surprise that things like South by Southwest are here in Austin because we've got that in our infrastructure that people just genuinely want to see you succeed. And that's why so many companies transplant here and they're successful in startups. But I agree with what Emily was saying is that one of my favorite things about AWT the last few years is we've filled some of these gaps for these remote workers who don't have colleagues or they don't have employee resource groups, and companies will reach out to us directly and say, hey, can we sponsor all of our women to be AWT members to fill this gap? So like you said, Tom, we don't want to reinvent the wheel. You essentially become our ERG, and then mentorship have come out of that. And we always say network before you need it. And you probably couldn't agree more with this, Tom, but so many people start networking when they're looking for a job or there's this reactive reason. But AWT and these organizations want to promote that you should network before you need it. You need that community proactively.
One of my big mentors in life, I actually know him. I came to know him, is Harvey McKay, who was one of the most best-selling authors of the 1990s. His most famous book was called How to Swim with the Sharks Without Being Eaten Alive. But he also wrote a book that didn't sell as well, but I think it's his best book. And it was called Dig Your Well Before You're Thirsty. And it was all about what you were just saying. And it was, you need to actually create that network of contacts and be out there serving your community and show up at things, because when the day comes that you get laid off, if you're that person who shows up at a Austin Technology Council or an AWT event with resumes in your hand going, "Hi, I met you 4 years ago. Can you help me?" People are like, "Well, where have you been for the last 4 years?" And so that's why I think it's really important. I tell everybody who will listen, you don't have to belong to my organization, but you and the company you work for should be supporting one of these 10 or 20 nonprofits that really support our community, our business community, our tech community. And if as individuals and as companies, we're not supporting a few of these groups, then when we have a need, we're going to be that taker who just shows up and says, "Hey, can you help me find a job?" But if you've been there for 4 years and you've been helping, in your case, other women be able to create their career paths, when you're in need, you're going to have a line of people who are there to help you.
Ooh, if you could see us right now, I'm like snapping my fingers. I'm like, preach, preach. But no, I agree. We say the same thing. We're like, if you don't want to get involved with an AWT, that's fine. Find 1 or 2 organizations and get consistent. Get involved. You can't show up and just assume that all of these things are going to happen at your first event there. You have to put in that work. And we always tell people that too, especially as seasons change. There's so many women that we've heard testimonials from that have joined AWT and then life has changed for them. Maybe they had kids and now they're a mom returning into the workforce, but they don't know any other moms at their company, or they don't have that representation, and they're trying to use their community like an AWT to find someone to mentor them in those different seasons. And I agree, it's so much harder when you're thirsty to dig that well. So I love that. And I also think that's why allyship is such a buzzword these days too, especially with, DEI related initiatives and companies taking inclusion and belonging more seriously, which is great in those core values. But we always say Awesome Women in Technology is also not just for women. We are inclusive, but we are women forward. We want to make sure there is that representation there, but it is amazing. Like, obviously, Thom, you've come to our events and there's men there and we need that allyship. And again, I think that's why having those communities and those connections are so important, where you can't just be immersed into one group, because then your vision gets a little tunneled.
So what are some of the differences that you guys see between men and women in leadership? Are there differences in that career path and the different seasons that we have? And I'm not saying better or worse, just are there differences?
Gosh, this is such a big question that I think both Heather and I are so passionate about. My journey I've been very lucky in my journey to actually work, now reflecting, with some incredibly powerful women C-suite leaders in my career path. And most recently, my current CEO, Beth Goff McMillan, saw in me whatever she saw and was like, "Hey, we're going to build this technology arm of our company and I want you to run it." And that was just insane. And she's been such a supporter and a mentor. And so I've been very lucky in that. And not everyone gets that opportunity. And some of the women that we've spoken to in AWT, it's like, how do I navigate this? And how do I navigate this, like my male dominated leadership team or whatever that looks like? And so I think, Thom, your question was the journey of women and men in leadership, right? And going into management. And I think that if you can find as a woman an ally to support you and tell you how to navigate those conversations and situations, that you can find success there. And that's really what we're trying to find with AWT. So I'll let Heather speak, because, we both had different journeys and I'm very passionate about mine. So go.
Yeah, I've been at my tech consulting company for 10 years and I've had different roles, but something I wish I would have told 10 years ago, Heather, is that it doesn't have to look like a ladder. It can look like a jungle gym. Sometimes your career path will be, you realize, oh, you need to take one arm down to go backwards to maybe leap up to go again. Or sometimes you take a lateral move. It doesn't always have to look like this linear ladder for it to be right. And I wish I would have redefined what success meant differently as well, because I've seen peers of mine who started around the same day I did 10 years ago being quote unquote higher roles than me, but my skill sets don't align or my strengths don't align to what my company sees as maybe seniority, right? I also think knowing that everyone has individual strengths and passions and things that they're striving for, that it doesn't always have to look like this ladder and that you have to take the next step up for it to be the best thing for you. And for me, I came from a journalism background, actually. I worked for an NBC affiliate and then I worked for a public relations firm and I sort of stumbled into technology. And I think for me, again, it's been more of this jungle gym career path, but a lot of it's been like back to what Emily was saying. I've had people who were speaking about me when I wasn't in the room saying, I know Heather can do this. I know these strengths about her. And that's something that we're really passionate about within AWT is showing women and everyone in general, make your skills transferable. They don't necessarily have to align. And there's stats out there, right, that says like men will apply for a job when they have 60% of the capabilities, but women only apply when they have 100%. Yep. But I always tell people like, make those skills transferable. If you haven't been a project manager, but you've been a mom the last 2 years and you're running soccer schedules and lunch, like you're project managing a household, right? Make those skills transferable. But again, I think people just think of it really linearly.
And I'd say just go for it, right? Like, even if you don't have the 100% of those skills, fake it till you make it, and you're going to figure it out, right? Build that network of people to help you to ask questions. That is literally why I joined AWT, is because we were spinning up this technology arm and I'd never run a technology company or built a product. I'd built a beta product, but like I joined AWT to find that community and support. And I am just so deeply passionate about what we offer the community. And it helped me tremendously make amazing connections in the community before I even came into this role and came onto the board.
I personally am very glad you joined. I don't know what I would do without you.
Well, and the two of you are powerhouses in the Austin tech community. Everywhere I go, I see one or both of you, and you really do make a difference both as individuals and with Austin Women in Technology. So as we look to the future of Austin, what do you think is the state of tech in Austin for everybody, and what do you think is the future of our tech community?
Gosh, I hope that we look at continuing to diversify the tech companies that are present in this community. There's a lot of movement in biotech and STEM related technology, AI, and how do we pull that into Austin? And I know, Tom, we're having conversations about that in other avenues. How do we really make that happen and partner together to make that happen, to stay relevant? Austin's kind of thought of as like an IT hub or, some social media hub. And so I see the movement already happening, but how do we get out there and talk about it and pull those companies here to bring that diversification to Austin? And so I see that as a really exciting future.
Yeah, I don't think we're competing. Companies are not competing. There's enough room for everyone for sure.
Yeah, we got enough land.
Yeah.
Come build those pharmaceutical things on our plots of land. That was the worst sentence I've ever said.
That's all right. Everybody knew exactly what you meant. And it's all about the fact that we want to welcome everybody to the Austin community as we look to the future. And I think, as I said earlier, AWT is doing a great job of being participants in this whole idea of getting all of the nonprofits and all of the community leaders to really work towards one goal. We can do it through our own paths, but we really have to have that one Austin focus. And I think if more groups would join us and promote each other rather than saying, oh no, if they give you membership dues, they won't give us membership dues. Some will give it to you, some will give it to me, some will give it to everybody. And I think that we just have to have that one Austin mentality through that. So I end every podcast by asking the guests, and I'll ask you each separately. Heather, we'll start with you. Community, collaboration, and conversations are what I think solves all problems. Which one resonates the most with you and why?
Community, for sure. I just think it's so much more fun together. Like you said, we can each do this on our own, but why not do it when we can do it together?
And Emily, community, collaboration, and conversation. What resonates and why?
Yeah, I think collaboration for me, and kind of what Heather said, how do we come together to make one Austin? And I think, Tom, that this also goes beyond, just the nonprofit kind of community support network. Also, how do we pull those companies into our camps to support our efforts. And, whether that's through sponsorship or companies coming to join you at ATC, companies becoming sponsors of our events, like that is how we keep this engine moving forward and support their employees in the community. So how do we do all of that together, right? So I'm all about the collaboration and making this one effort to drive Austin to be even more awesome than it is now.
So it has been so much fun to have you here on Austin Tech Connect. In fact, as the father of what I call two highly spirited daughters, I'm glad to see that there is so much effort going out there in our community and around the world to give more opportunities to women. And the Austin Technology Council is here to support everything that Austin Women in Technology does. So please let us know how we can continue to be a partner with you guys.
Thank you, Thom.
Yeah.
So before I let you go, my new final question that I've asked the last few podcasts, just to get a little sparkle of Austin in there. Emily, we'll start with you. If a friend came in from out of town, where's the one place in Austin you would take them?
I would take them to Kanji, the Caribbean restaurant on the east side. Amazing food, amazing cocktails, and never fails. It's good every time. And I've taken a lot of people there, like superstar place.
Nice. I've never even heard of it. I'm going to have to take my wife to dinner there. That's awesome.
Add it to the list. Yeah, mine. Bop one block down on E6, and mine is Lazarus Brewery. You will find me on that patio every day. So come say hi.
I think I've seen you there. I like Lazarus Brewery. That's a place that I have a lot of meetings because you can go for coffee or you can go for a beer.
I'm there all day.
Well, this has been a lot of fun. It's really been a pleasure to have both of you here on the show. And I want to see us continue the partnerships and have our two organizations lead the way in getting people, to continue to collaborate as we continue to grow Austin. So thank you very much for the support that you give to our community.
Thank you, Thom, so much. This is great.
And thanks to everybody who tuned in and listened. Hey, I've got a question for you. Is your company a member of the Austin Technology Council? We would welcome your involvement and have you add your voice as we work to help the community of technology grow as we move into the future of Austin, Texas. Join the Austin Technology Council and Austin Women in Technology. Join them today.
Thanks for listening to the Austin Tech Connect podcast. Make sure your company is a member of the Austin Technology Council and add your voice to the future of our tech ecosystem in Central Texas.